year 2000, I visited the Japanese toy fair for the one and only time in April. Found some marvelous stuff. Here's just a little group of them to show you. They're so inventive, the Japanese. They make things which you never see in the West because they're so prolific. Only a tiny percent gets out. But let me show you these on the piece. Especially this first one is the one I've realized for the first time, having had this for. Well, I'll show it up to camera first to show the artwork that's gone into it. But this is a wind-up, which does something quite extraordinary in that when the motor is fully wound up, it behaves in a certain way. As it unwinds, when it reaches about a third full, it does something completely different, which is extraordinary. I never had one like it. So let's wind it up fairly fully to start with. And he does an action like that. Chug, 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 chug. A bit more than that, actually. It needs to be really quite full. There we are. He scatters. Back you come. Ooh, a bit more yet. Okay. He does a little scattering action like that to start with. And then as the battery runs down, as the motor runs down, he starts misbehaving or not behaving in another way. He does a little chirp, 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 one of those actions. And then he does a few sort of chaotically, a little hops between those two states. There we are. Now he's just swinging back and forward. He's very charming, very unusual. And for a little wind-up, doing two different actions, depending on the strength of the spring, how far it's unwound, I've never seen anything quite like it before. So, a very clever toy. Let me do it one more time, because I like the initial start, which is this wonderful... No, it needs to be more than that. There we are. He does a little bit of scatter, and then almost immediately, after about the first bit, yes. Then he starts that second action, which is churn, 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 churn. And the last little bit does a little bit of both. Sometimes he goes into one mode, sometimes in the other. It's obviously been very well designed with the splay of the feet, with everything about it, in order to make it work. And the dynamics of it was very, very hard to find, I would think. It needs a lot of experiments by the designer. So that it's got to sway back and forward and not fall over. So very, very clever bit of work by the Japanese there for an automaton, a wind-up automaton, which does at least two actions and is very watchable indeed. This is another much simpler one, which only does the one thing. It's one of those key fob ones, and it's just a little little lady. Is it anyway? It's a toy cat, and to wind it up, all you got to do is pull like that, and then it does it. And I'll hold it to the camera so it's a little more sort of. So one more time. Oops. Runs very furiously, didn't she? My goodness me. So a beautiful action for that one. And that was Sekiguchi, no? Sanrio, yes. Sanrio, very, very good Japanese company for making unusual toys. There's a couple of tiny spinning tops. They're not the smallest. I have seen smaller ones, but these are still... Well, let me show one up to camera first, because this is exquisite Japanese quality here. Beautifully made. And they spin very, very nicely on that table. I'll try them actually on a white surface because they'll show a bit better on a bit of paper. Very small, but very sleekly made. And of course, they made these in every possible size. I have seen ones still smaller, and there's a chap in Germany who makes very small spinning tops. That's a bit slow, that bit. That's a good long spin, and that's a good long spin. Oops, shows he's come off the paper. That spins a long time considering how small it is. The amount of inertia on it is really quite small, but it's enough to make it perform. You have them battling, looks like. Oh, no, he's fallen off the paper again. Let's do them two together. I should have a very slightly curved mirror, then they'll battle gently. They'll stay in the same place and start battling, but there we are. Oops, Josie, he's come off again. So those are working extremely well, and look how small they are, but exquisitely made. They have to be absolutely balanced to be able to perform like that, to run for such a long time. So again, wonderful design, wonderful manufacture. Here's one of my many, many pens that I found on that trip to Tokyo. It was held in April, incidentally, for the first time ever, only time. Normally it's held in August, which is very hot and steaming. This is a sweet little thing. It's a ballpoint pen, so there's a piece at the end where there's a ballpoint coming out. At the top end, you've got a little bird. Nothing very much there. But when it's this bit here, if you look at it, is actually a whistle. That's a whistle. So the idea is when you do an action a bit more fiercely, you hear that now? Now it's actually squeaking. And is it moving the bird? No. So that's not electronic sound, that's actually a little puff of air. There's a tiny cylinder, a little pump effect like that. and the noises coming out of the things there, but the actual cutting edge of where the jet of air has to start vibrating is just there. Very, very sweet, and it. Oh yes, so it's with action there. Look, to show close to the camera because it's wings are coming out as it goes. Oh, and the beak opens as well. There's more to it than I thought. The eyes don't roll, though. No rolling eyes, but very well made. So a lovely idea to have something that's not electronic, no battery needed. It's entirely done by air pressure, a little pump action, and the whistle, which is that bit there. Very nice design. Well done, Japanese. Here's an extraordinary thing, which when I looked at it, I didn't really know what I was looking at. I bought it in a package like this, all with Japanese words in it, so you can't tell what to do. But it does something quite extraordinary, actually. Look how thin it is. That's the first thing to notice. It turns out that this is, well, I've already done it here, so let's do it again. You open it up like this, you slip the paper in, and then you've got to push down hard. Oops, to get that in there. Push it down hard. And suddenly you realize you're looking at a stapler. So it's extraordinary. Oh no, it's a hole punch. That's right. That's a hole punch. Stapler. Yes, no, it's a hole punch. So it's punching the holes through those bits. As that comes down, it pushes hard and grips the paper and does probably about, I think they're suggesting probably about 3 or 4 sheets at the most because it's only plastic. It's not metal. There's no metal. There's no metal knife edges on it at all. But it actually works. And of course, that is such a small item that will just literally fit into your pocket, into your breast pocket, because it's so flat and convenient. So again, a very, very interesting version. I think this is the Japanese really at their best. My impression is about 95% of the stuff that's made in that wonderful, prolific country reaches the West. It stays in Japan, and only 5% comes out. So we're relying on them, on importers to go over and visit and then bring it in. But that's a wonderful one. To get the stuff there, you've got to go to Tokyo, go to Japan, and then you find this extraordinary range of interesting stuff. Woo! What a year that was, all in one case behind me.